Hey everybody, and welcome to the very first Unpro NBA show. I am Rob, and this is my NBA basketball show. And basically, what I'm doing here is going around the league pretty much every week, talking about the teams that are good, the teams that are bad, different takes that I have. This is a season I'm very, very excited about in the NBA this year. And basically, what I want this show to be is a unconventional approach to talking about the NBA. And we're more going to be focusing on week to week storylines. Oh, this guy was amazing this week. This guy had a great game, and shedding light on guys that don't normally get light shed on them. I want to stay away from the rings conversations. LeBron's doing this, MJ's this. That's not what the point of the show is. The point is to legitimately be grinding with the NBA guys as they go through the season and pointing out different things that I see. I do consume a large amount of basketball, and basically I just wanted to share my information with all of you guys and talk about your teams and just kind of have a back and forth with the audience about NBA basketball, something that I absolutely love. So that's what I want this show to be. But I guess going directly away from what I just said, I want to do my season preview, and that involves making some picks. You guys can see where my head's at going into the season. I won't be like, oh, this guy's going to win the finals every single week. I will be doing a top 5 teams right now every week, but like I said, that's going to be a week-to-week basis thing, so kind of focusing in on the day-to-day of the NBA. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and go through my picks. The first thing I wanted to mention was my surprise team. And this was basically like who's going to be the Kings of last year. Who's the team that's going to make a big step that maybe no one's really talking about or is going to be better than expectations. And my pick this year for that surprise team is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think that they're basically all healthy right now, and when they're all healthy, it's a very, very exciting starting five. SGA, I think, has moved into that caliber of one of the best players in the NBA. Really, really fun guy to watch. He's a guard that scores in the paint. Something that I absolutely love to see. He spreads the ball around. He does have a high amount of turnovers, but that just kind of happens with what he does. He does get to the line a lot too. So shout out SGA as one of the underrated free throw shooters in the NBA. I think he shot more free throws than Luka last year, which people don't think about. But yeah, very, very good team that I think this year in the Thunder, and also an honorable mention the Orlando Magic. Paulo Banchero was awesome last year. I think the team's 1 year older, 1 year better. So I think the Magic cracked the playoffs, but I think the Thunder maybe top 4 seed out there in the East. My most improved player, sticking with the Thunder thing, is Jalen Williams. And this is a guy that I don't think got a lot of credit at the end of last year. He was fantastic at the end of last season, and I think this year he's going to make another big step. I did watch his game against the Bulls the other day. I am a Bulls fan. I don't know if I should say that right now, but I am a large Bulls fan. But he looked fantastic in that very first game. He put on a lot of weight. He's shooting the ball more. He's getting to the basket more. I think Jalen Williams is going to be fantastic. I think he'll have a couple of triple doubles. So if you want to bet Jalen Williams triple doubles, please do that. I think he's going to be awesome. My sixth man of the year, I'm going to go with Tim Hardaway Jr. if he continues to come off the bench there for the Mavs. He's probably going to score almost 20 points a game coming off the bench, which that doesn't happen a lot in the NBA. He's just going to get a lot of shots because he's going to be out there with either Kyrie or Luka, not them both, so he'll get a lot of chances next to those guys as they kind of take control in Dallas. Obviously, Rookie of the Year, I don't know how you could not pick Wemby. He's so much fun to watch. That was such an awesome game. He had all those fouls, but he still scored like 19 points, I think. He was so exciting in that very, very first game. So I'm going to go Wemby with my Rookie of the Year. My MVP, this is where a lot of my takes are going to lie this year. I'm going to go with Giannis. I'm really, really big on the Bucks this year. I've been saying a Dame Giannis pick and roll is going to be the most unstoppable thing in the league before Dame even got traded there. I thought he was an idiot for trying to go to the Heat. The best fit was the Bucks the whole time. He ended up getting the best of this. Like, he didn't get to go to Miami. He got to go to Milwaukee, which it's going to work out for Dame. They're going to be awesome. They looked pretty good last night. A little bit too much Dame in my opinion, but they looked pretty good. So my Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks over the Boston Celtics. And then my Western Conference Finals, I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets over the Kings. I think the Kings are going to stay good, and I think they're going to be able to make it this year to the Western Conference Finals. My finals winner is going to be the Bucks over the Nuggets, so the Eastern Conference gets back on top, and the Bucks are once again NBA champions. So there you go. There's my picks. That's probably the last time, maybe not the last time, that I'll be talking about what I think is going to happen this season. But let's move into something that I sort of mentioned before I did my picks, was the top 5 teams right now. And this is how I'm going to start every single show from this point forward. And it's the 5 teams, I think, in this current state, where they are, where we're going to be including injuries, including streaks of players, including records. There's going to be a lot that's going to go into this. But right now, my number one team, no surprise here, number one is going to be the Denver Nuggets. They looked awesome in their very first game. They didn't lose anybody, really, that mattered. They lost Bruce Brown. I don't think it's going to affect them in the long term. Shout out my boy Christian Brown. I went to Kansas. I don't even see my flag back there. I'll probably put more stuff behind me. I'm a big Kansas guy. But, yeah, so I think the Nuggets are number one. Number two, I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think they looked pretty good in that first game. I think they're going to get better, but at this point, I think they legitimately are number two. You took Drew Holiday out, you put Dame in. Other than that, it's the exact same team. The Boston Celtics are number three. They made a lot of good additions this offseason. Excuse me. Drew Holiday and Porzingis. Zingis looked awesome in that very first game there with Boston. Number four, I'm going to go with the Mavericks. And just because in late game situations, I don't think there's a better combo right now than Luka and Kyrie. They played really well off each other, better than I thought they would in their very first game, but that's something to monitor there. I don't know if they'll be in the top five all year, but right now they're number four. And then number five, I have the Kings. Didn't really have any problems in their first game. Their offense looks just as good as it did last year. So they're sitting there for me, number five. If you have more teams you want to put in there, you think I got it wrong, go ahead and let me know. But this is top five teams right now, this week, as of recording, Friday, October 27th. So this is probably going to change as the season goes on. Alright, so moving on to what I'm calling the weekly spotlights. And this is, a series of things I'm going to go through that are the non-traditional storylines, things that I saw that I don't think are necessarily getting the attention on the national scale that they should be. So the very first one I'm going to do is the game that I saw that no one's talking about that I thought was a great game. So the game that no one talked about. And this was the Atlanta versus Charlotte game on Wednesday night. And this was a game that kind of came right down to the wire. And the reason I'm going to bring it up at first was because of this pig trophy that I didn't even know existed. I just showed a picture of it right there. I didn't know that they had trophies like this in the NBA. It's like a college football thing to have trophies like this, but I guess it was like the barbecue showdown or something they call it. So I guess that's pretty cool. That I didn't know that was a thing until literally yesterday. So yeah, Atlanta versus Charlotte, the pig trophy game. That's crazy to me that that's even a thing. But moving into the actual game, I'm going to be showing you the highlights of the game as I talk over this. Number one is Brandon Miller, to me, looks like the second best rookie right now. I'm not really counting Chet Holmgren, even though he counts, I guess. I guess Chet probably even look better than Brandon Miller when it comes down to it. So I guess my take still stands. He looked really, really good in his first game. He was hitting shots. He was kind of like a nice compliment to LaMelo. He's a shooter. That's what he's supposed to do over there. That's what he's going to do. He's going to make shots. That's what his job is. In this too, Trae Young really, really looked bad. He didn't make a three until like the last 60 seconds of the game. I think he was like 1 for 7 or 1 for 8. He was really, really bad from three. Maybe just an early season thing. I'm of the take that I don't think Trae Young's really that good. So here, I'm gonna post up. My light was messed up. So last year, Trae Young led the league in turnovers. He shot under 43% from the field, under 33.5% from three. So he just, to me, is so inefficient that he'll never actually be that good. He had that awesome series against the Knicks. Other than that, I don't think he's ever done anything at the NBA level other than, I guess, score at a high level just because he takes so many shots. DeJounte is the right piece next to him, but I think he also takes away from him. So I don't know. I don't even know if he's the right piece. That might have been a mistake for what I just said. I don't like the Hawks. I don't think that they're going to be very good this year. They weren't very good last year. I like DeJounte Murray. I don't like Trae Young at all, and he looks bad. And then moving on to what I thought was kind of the story of this game was P.J. Washington. I don't think anybody was going to talk about P.J. Washington as one of their first games of the year, but I'm going to go ahead and shout out P.J. Washington. He had like 25 points. He looked awesome in that very first game. He had a lot of big shots down the stretch. He was getting rebounds. He was awesome. I don't really know how else to describe it. He probably had one of his best games as a pro to start that season. So big shout out to P.J. Washington late in that game, scoring all those points there in Atlanta. Moving on to my L of the week. And this is what a game or a team that I saw that really, really did not do well. And it's going to be the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies have a problem because they're missing their most impactful player. And it's not John Morant. It's Steven Adams. And the fact that they're going to lose Steven Adams for this, it might be the whole season, I think, is going to be a really, really big issue. They got out-rebounded horribly in this game. The Pelicans dominated them on the glass. The Pelicans had 25 offensive rebounds, and that is directly correlated to Steven Adams not being there. Jaren Jackson is a good 4 and he can block shots, but he cannot rebound the same way Steven Adams does. And to me, that's just an effort thing, that's a strength thing, and maybe Jaren will be able to grow into that as the season goes, because that's a very, very big hole right now for the Grizzlies. Big, big loss there for Steven Adams, bigger than I think anybody even thought that would be. All right, moving on to my low-key dub of the week, and this is something that might not have seemed like it was a win, but it was. I don't know if this is going to be something that I do every week. But I have Chet Holmgren, low-key dub of the week. He was pretty much going viral everywhere. All these videos of Chet getting destroyed. He got crossed up. He got postered. He looked like a rookie. It was his very first game. He looked like he was making mistakes. But I think he actually got the best of the Bulls in that one. The Thunder kind of blew out the Bulls. And Chet was, he was plus 14, while Nikola Vucevic was minus 19. And he made 2 big threes and shot over 50% in just 25 minutes in his NBA debut. So, Chet Holmgren, you're going to be fine. I think that you got to not look at all those videos of you getting destroyed, because you're going to be completely fine. That's going to happen. You don't have the weight yet. You aren't big enough. But you have skills that the other guys don't have. You were plus 15. Take your win. Move on. And then this is one of my favorite things that I saw. This is my sequence of the week. This is an defensive to offensive or an offensive to defensive possession. Something where it's like, oh, this guy really stood out to me when I was watching. And it is Jonathan Isaac is back. And Jonathan Isaac was supposed to be amazing, one of the best defensive players. He was like the next Kawhi, I think. The amount of next Kawhis that we've seen in the draft is crazy. But he was awesome defensively. So this was his play here for the Magic. He got this awesome block. I mean, that was an awesome block, but just classic Jonathan Isaac here. Not really being able to perform on both ends. So that was my sequence of the week. Big shout out to Jonathan Isaac. I think you can be good, Jonathan. I think you're going to be a reason that the Magic are going to be good this year. But I don't know. I still need a little more polish on that offensive game. He hasn't played in a while. All right, so moving on to what I'm going to call our big storylines or our national storylines. These are going to be more commonly talked about topics in the NBA. The very, very first one I'm going to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks. I'll be honest, I'm recording the rest of this on Saturday morning, so I did see that Luka game last night. Those shots down the stretch, I mean, that's unreal. That is like pretty much best player in the NBA kind of stuff. That's MVP kind of stuff from Luka. He was out of his mind in the very end of that game. But I think that the Mavs have somewhat of a problem, and it's their perimeter defense, specifically late in games. Like, they aren't necessarily able to get the stops that I think is going to elevate them to one of the top-tier teams. But if you have Luka and Kyrie scoring like that, specifically Luka scoring like that, it's not going to matter, because no one's going to be able to score at that clip. No one on the planet can score at that clip. That is insane. But I think there might be some kind of an issue there. I will say I think Derek Lively is the best 5 that they have. Maxi Kleber fits in the floor spacing sense of it. I think Derek Lively adds defense and rebounding that Kleber just can't do. So I think that he is the right choice there. He had an awesome debut game. Outscored Wemby, or almost outscored Wemby, I believe, in the very, very first game. Talking about the Spurs, the Victor Wembanyama fouls, I think, are going to be a problem all season. I think he's just not used to how the NBA game gets called. It'll take him a long time, I think, to be able to figure that out. But I think ultimately it won't matter. I think that he's so talented and he's so good that he's so big that it's not going to matter. That no one else can guard him. The Spurs aren't using him all the way right yet. I think that the guys are hesitant to throw him the ball in the post sometimes. Like in the Rockets game last night, he had a couple of times where it's an easy lob and they were late on it or something like that. So I think that they're still trying to figure that out. And then I'm of this take as well. If the Spurs continue to get these nationally televised games, and if Wemby has a career that a lot of people think that he is, his teammate Jeremy Sohan will be a household name by the end of the season. He was very colorful and charismatic at Baylor. He shoots the one-handed free throws. He's going to start next to Wemby, I believe, when he makes a transition to the 5. So I think he's going to sort of fill the Draymond role for the Warriors. Like, he's not going to be Draymond, like he's his own guy. But he's like the Spurs sort of wild card, big personality kind of guy that's going to sit next to the star that's Wemby. So moving on to the Celtics, and I think you have to talk about the Celtics just because they made the additions. Porzingis looks really, really good. Like he's the exact right fit. I think the Al Horford Porzingis thing is still kind of weird. I feel like they're redundant in a lot of ways, but they kind of are right playing next to each other right now. I think that they might have other options, but Porzingis is awesome, and I think if they stay fully healthy throughout the year, they're going to be the one seed out there in the East. The Bucks are going to be good, but the Celtics, I think, have more figured out already, and it's like these, they're not plug and play pieces, but they just fit more naturally together and less ball dominant guys than they're dealing with in Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, speaking of them, this very first pick and roll that the Bucks had was awesome. I mean, another awesome. It's almost unstoppable. I don't know what you do about that. You come out to guard Dame, you got to deal with Giannis. If you don't come out to guard Dame, you just let Dame shoot a three. So that's insane to me. I think that it's going to be the best player in the league, like I said all year. I don't think Malik Beasley's the right other starter there in Milwaukee. I think Beauchamp's better because he adds more defense. Malik Beasley's kind of not great defensively, and that ties into my next point. Is yes, you got Dame, and Dame is awesome, but all of the offense that you added with Dame, you also subtracted defensively with Drew Holiday. They had some issues kind of late in that very first game where Dame's just not able to guard guys the same way that Drew was, and I think we knew that. But they don't have somebody else that can step in and guard those guys late in the games. I don't know if they're going to add somebody else or they're going to tweak the lineup a little bit, but that's something that I've seen early on. Similar to the Mavs, they just can't get the stops late in games. I think that they have a better chance of figuring it out than the Mavs do just because Luka and Kyrie notoriously aren't great defensively. I think that Dame will get better, and they have other guys, so I think that they're going to be okay. Um, so yeah, so those were my big storylines. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out to you guys, I guess, on the more national scale of things that you probably hear other guys talking about that I just also wanted to bring up. So moving on to my pick. I'm going to make one weekend pick here. This is presented by BetStamp. Use promo code UNPRO to be able to compare lines from all different games, all different sports books, all at the same time. Use BetLink on BetStamp, and you'll be able to see every single line. It's automatically connected to your gambling account. So sign up with BetStamp, promo code UNPRO. You will not be disappointed. All right, so my pick is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans -3 versus the Knicks. It's going to be played in New Orleans, and when Zion's healthy, Brandon Ingram's healthy, CJ McCollum's healthy, I think this is a really, really good team. The Knicks are a good team. RJ Barrett looks pretty good, but I don't think they're quite on the level of the Pelicans. I think they're going to kind of blow them out in that one a little bit. So there you go. There's my pick presented by BetStamp. And this is something I'm going to wrap up every single show with, is my look ahead to next week. And there's two games I'm going to point out that aren't on the national TV circuit that I think, not that they should be, but you should look out for if you really, really like NBA basketball. I think this would be two very good games. First one's going to be Pistons versus Thunder. Two really young cores, two exciting teams that have a lot of hope and expectations for this year. They're both all the way healthy right now, so both of their fives are actually very, very good. It's some of the better fives in the entire NBA. So look out for that one, Pistons versus Thunder, on Monday. And then on Wednesday, Pacers versus Celtics. So this is kind of the Pacers, are they legit? Is this offense really that good? How good did they really get in the offseason? Versus the Celtics, who still have more to prove. I think they're still trying to figure things out. And it might be a high-scoring affair there on Wednesday, a lot of points, if you like offensive basketball. So that's going to be the game on Wednesday. So this was my very, very first attempt at this. Things are going to change. I have more and more ideas of things that I'm going to try this year. But yeah, thank you for watching my season preview here. You guys are the best. Thanks.